how odd this video will be.
Hi, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ, and this is my second ever attempt at a reading vlog. So obviously I'm not a huge vlogger. That's mostly because I'm just too much of a perfectionist to really handle the informality of a reading vlog. And so why am I attempting that right now? Great question. I'm trying to lean into the informality of this because my sort of camera person and my tech person and my sort of director who makes sure that like I look good in the shots and just like sets it all for me, that's my spouse, my love and my life partner, and he is in Paris this week, actually for the next week and a half. Yeah, so I don't have my mic all set up, I don't have the camera angle, I don't have the additional lighting, and I was like, you know what would be a really great creative project for me to practice letting go of some of my perfectionism, and that's to make a reading vlog. And it's also just to keep myself occupied while my best friend is gone. So that's what this is. That's what we're all about here. This is all very experimental. So we'll see if this even makes YouTube. It may not. Sometimes reading vlogs start with life updates, so we can do that part. A little over a week ago, I was put in the hospital for like 3 days, and it was mostly gallbladder related, but with an unresolved side quest about my liver. I'm back now, -1 gallbladder, and I'm good. I'm just in recovery, and I can't do a lot of stuff. Now, I do have goals for this vlog. So my working title is something like In Search of a 5-Star. That's because, what's the date? We're into April now, right? Almost May. We are almost 4 entire months through this year, and I have not read a single 5-star book, and that is an absolute shame. And some of that is my fault. I know what I have picked up and read, okay? And some of that is the books that I have picked up's fault, you know? So I have wanted to read a 5-star book, and I just haven't met her yet. So that's my official goal. Also, I play Bookopoly, my own version, obviously inspired by Becca with the Books, and I made my own like a year and a half ago, and I love it. My piece on the game board is on the board, the like last space in the board, and it is on 5-star. So I cannot move on until I read a 5-star. So I have to. I'm looking at Free Water by Amina Luqman-Dawson. This is the story of an enslaved boy who runs away from his plantation and discovers a haven in like a swamp community in, I think, Louisiana, maybe Georgia. And so I've started it. It's very good. It's obviously heavy, but it is really good so far. So I'm sure this is going to be a 5-star. I just, want to finish it. I'm reading After the Forest by Kel Woods. This is a Hansel and Gretel. It's not quite a retelling, but it takes place 30 years after the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel, and it's about Greta, who makes gingerbread using the recipe books stolen from the witch's home where she, and her brother escaped from. I'm like 20% of the way through this, and it's unfortunately slow because I'm so about a fairy tale retelling. I'm so about the Germanic fairy tales. I'm so about fairy tales that like take place after the fact, that deal with the consequences. I mean, it's really up my alley, but not a lot has happened, and I'm kind of wondering when are we going to get to the plot of this book, because so far nothing's happened. And then the last of the fantasy is Witches Steeped in Gold. Clearly I was like really going for the Green Forest vibes when I put my March TBR together. So this is a Jamaican inspired fantasy. It's about vengeance, which is my favorite type of plot. I have also already started this one, and it is a bit slow, but I don't think it's fair for me to say that yet, because I don't think I'm past the point where something should have happened yet and hasn't. So we're still in the very beginning stages of this one. So between these three, I had assumed that one of them was going to be a 5-star for sure. The goals of this reading vlog. So In Search of a 5-Star, I hope that it will be one of my fiction novels, and I hope that it will be from my March TBR, but we'll see. The second is to build my April TBR, kind of like spring TBR part 2. We're gonna go through my shelves together, kind of maybe it will turn into like a light bookshelf tour. We'll see, I don't know. And then the third is to do a little book haul because I had a great day yesterday and I grabbed some really great books. So
after a snack and some deliberation, I decided to go ahead and do the book haul now on Sunday, mostly because I want to actually go ahead and shelve these books and I want to put them into my official TBR captured format. And I want to show you what that is. So without further ado, this is my book haul. So the first stack is from the indie bookstore that I love, which is here in Orlando, and it's called The New Romantics. And it just opened in the past year and I love it. It is absolutely delightful inside. It's like a pastel pink and purple, and they only sell romance novels and some really fun like merch and stickers and goodies and all that. So we're gonna start with one that is kind of interesting. Okay, so hear me out. The Wingman. Okay, I have been into hockey romances lately because first of all, you can't escape it. Okay, the sports romances are here, the hockey romances are here. Like, you have to become an athlete yourself if you're trying to like duck and bob and weave the fire line of sports romances right now. I would say out of all the sports romances, it's definitely most fun, I think, to read about hockey. These are like two BFFs, and he has been her wingman like this whole time, and after coming out of like a bad breakup, she's like, okay, I need you to be my wingman for real though, while I like really get my riz back and, you know, get back out there. And so then, you know, over time, he's like kind of tired of being on the sidelines, I guess. Maybe I will like this and maybe I won't, but we will find out. This is about a girl who shows up to her high school reunion, her like 20-year high school reunion, and she was voted most likely to succeed, but she's feeling like a failure and is quote unquote fun employed for the first time. Her like school rival, basically her frenemy, who didn't really have it together, is actually crushing it in the career field. And in one night they have like all these shenanigans as they like explore their hometown together, and everything goes wrong, and it sounds like a cute. I love books that take place either over a very long period of time or a very short period of time. I think they're kind of a fun break. The Girl Most Likely To by Julie 2. The Road Trip Rewind by Kate and Danny Tamborelli. So this sounds super cute. It sounds like a Back to the Future kind of story. She's an up-and-coming screenwriter, and she's very excited about her screenplay that she's just written. But the star of the film is this like A-list celebrity who's insufferable, right? And they actually have history, but he doesn't remember, and he doesn't remember being like a total dick to her. So she's not happy that he doesn't remember her. For whatever reason, they're like put in a road trip together, and they get into maybe a car accident, like something crazy happens on the road trip, and when they both wake up, they're back in the 90s, which is when the time period of their screenplay takes place. And it's actually like the night either that they met or the night when things went wrong between them, and like they kind of have a chance to do over. So it's like a kind of fun Back to the Future, but it's like in the 90s. Yeah, so cute. Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. So this is about a fake spirit medium. So she's like a con artist, and mostly she just like tricks people into saying like, oh my god, yeah, your house is totally haunted, and for a fee I'll get rid of it. And so when she hears about like a farm, she thinks that she's gonna like fool this like country bumpkin, but actually turns out to be this like totally hip guy who is kind of wise to her antics. And so I thought that sounded like a cute premise, but we'll see. Love on Paper by Danielle Parker. So this one sounded kind of cute. It's about two Nepo baby writers whose parents are good and established writers, and they go on a writing retreat, and their assignment is romance, and neither one of them are like good at it, but you know, they kind of have something to prove to each other, to like everyone else at the retreat. And yeah, it sounds like it could be cute. Hot Summer. So this one is interesting. So this is by Elle Everhart. This sounds super cute. It's basically about a girl who gets either not like raffle tickets, but like her job is given tickets to participate in a sort of Love Island-ish or inspired reality TV dating competition, and she doesn't want to go. Obviously, her job is like, you have to, which is preposterous. Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. So this sounds kind of fun because I live in Florida, and this takes place in Florida, and it's about a woman who moves from Orlando, where I live, to one of the keys called Boneyard Key, and I don't actually know if that's a real key. The house that she buys is haunted, and the male main character runs ghost tours in Boneyard Key, and so they like hit it off, have like spooky things in common, and it sounds super cute. Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. I had no idea that Ashley Herring Blake had a fourth book. And also, I want to talk for a second about like the curse of the third book. Now we're going to pause. We're going to talk about Ashley Herring Blake. Ashley Herring Blake writes sapphic romances. She is the best author, the best contemporary romance author that I have ever read. And I'm saying that, and my romance authorship readership is low. That's me saying something, but also it's not saying like a whole lot. I think that Ashley Herring Blake is able to write like really cool, complex characters without sacrificing the tone of the plot. She writes women really well. She writes real people. I love that like men in her books are just like, they are written the way that women characters are written in every other book by a man. And so it is so deliciously refreshing. And Ashley Herring Blake's third book wasn't bad. I just hated it. And I hated it because I did not at all identify with her characters, either one of her main characters. And so I know that that's a me thing, but I hated it. Like, yeah, Iris Kelly can't even, or something, like, I don't know, I can't date, I don't know, but I hated it. And so I'm really hoping that this has a character that I can vibe with. I am looking forward to this, and I hope that it redeems her in my eyes. And then the very last thing from the New Romantics bookstore is it's an arc called Wish I Were Here, and I've been seeing a lot of books like this kind of pop up, in that like a woman is like starting over completely. I was at Barnes & Noble with my mom yesterday because that's the second stack, okay? And she like encountered like two different plot types that were about just like a woman, she'll like move to the next room and like her life as she knew it is like completely changed. She's not who she is. She has a completely new identity, a new look, a new style, and like also a new man, right? And so that was one of them. I think it was called like The Husbands or something. I don't know. And so this is similar. It's like a woman is like very, very type A. She has a plan for everything, whatever. And then suddenly she wakes up, she has like no ID and no memory of her past or something. And she is like meets this guy who's a very like fly by the seat of his pants kind of thing, and she's like, oh, I'm swept away. Maybe I do like this kind of life. As a very type A person, I don't enjoy books like this. I don't enjoy at all the concept of like suddenly your whole life is different. I find that type of escapism like very frustrating for me. I always found it to be for like when it would creep up on like Hallmark movies or Christmas Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies, where it would be like she bumps her head in the snow and she wakes up and this like high-powered New York businesswoman is like actually a mom with 2 kids, and that's where she finds her real joy. I always found those movies deeply troubling, deeply unsettling, and like not a fantasy for me, where like, oh, as it turns out, I just needed to wake up and realize that all I ever wanted was to be a mother. I hated that. This concept to me is, I just find it very stressful, and so it's not for me. So I will probably be having a miss on this one. Okay, and now we have the books from Barnes & Noble. So like I said, I celebrated Indie Bookstore Day and I went to the New Romantics, and then I was in the car and I was ready to come home and be sad because yesterday was a sad day and this was my retail therapy. Like that was the point, that was the plot. But my husband, my love, my life partner, sneaked me a card into my bag, and it was just like a little note to be like, hey, I missed you already, and it had a Barnes & Noble gift card inside of it, and he was like, you know, go and celebrate the day and enjoy Barnes & Noble too. And so I thought that was so cute and so fun, and so I called my mom up and was like, hey, I'm headed back to the other side of town. Do you want me to swing by, pick you up, and we'll go book shopping? And so she was very amenable to that, and grabbed her, and we went to Barnes & Noble. And so these were some of the treasures that I got from Barnes & Noble. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about them. Paperbacks from Hell. So this is by Grady Hendrix, who I love, by the way. And this is like a exploration into the horror, like the unique type of horror books from the 80s and the impact that they had culturally on like writers and like just the zeitgeist. And I'm so into that. I'm into 80s culture a lot. Like as an observer, I deeply obviously identify as a millennial because I am one. But as like a fangirl, I'm a fangirl of the 80s through and through. Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This is a surrealist, we support women's rights and women's wrongs kind of book, which is absolutely my type of speculative horror. I'm seeing like this was on a table with like Bunny by Mona Awad, a couple other books that I already have, and also this one, The Unworthy by Augustina Besterica, who wrote Tender as the Flesh. And so another speculative horror that is 100% social commentary on like ecotourism and more. And so I'm invested. This is my type of horror. This is my type of social commentary. Absolutely. I also grabbed an Agatha Christie because I haven't read just like a fun mystery in a while. I have talked about the Agatha Christie quandary many times. It was one of my first videos that I made on this channel. It was like, what do we do with Agatha Christie books and what do we do with J.K. Rowling? And why do I kind of distinguish between the two differently when they're both problematic, horrible women? You know what I mean? I do not subscribe to the opinion that because this existed first in the past, that it is immune to present day criticism. That's a silly goose take. Because it exists in the present and we have access to it in the present. If it was a historical document only that was not currently shaping curricula and modern day books and stories, then sure, we could view it as a historical document and therefore a product of its time. But it's not just a product of its time because I purchased it yesterday. So I think that's an important distinction. So anyways, but that is also the distinction between a dead person and like a live person like J.K. Rowling, while their books are both still equally harmful. You can read and appreciate the art while also equally loudly talking about the harm present within it. The Dead Guy Next Door. Now, I feel like everything has a caveat. It's not. I'm excited about this book. This is about a girl who, if she's not psychic, she's intuitive in some way. Yeah, she's a possible psychic. And her neighbor next door is dead or dies or is killed. Unclear. And this detective shows up looking for him. And so the two kind of work together to figure out who killed him. Now, I'm intrigued by this. It sounds cute, but this is almost offensive. This is a contemporary rom-com. What defense have you for being this long? What in this plot could possibly be here that makes this big? This is Agatha Christie. This is almost unacceptable, you know? Despite that, I picked it up. I purchased it with my own bucks. So if it is criminally long, that's on me, and I'm aware of it, and it's no one's fault but my own. This one I'm super excited about. This is called The Blackwoods by Brandy Colbert, and it's about like Black Hollywood royalty, and it sounds like a little bit of like messy drama, an unforgettable story set in an America where everything is personal and nothing is private. Yeah, it's about two different women. One is 1962, the matriarch of the most famous Black family in Hollywood, and then her great-granddaughter Hollis. A child star who spent her life and immersed in it. Yeah, it sounds great. I'm here for it. And finally, the most ridiculous purchase. Did I put other books back for this book? Yes. Was that a choice? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But there was a special foiled screen printed edge edition of Hooked by Emily McIntyre. So I read all kinds of Peter Pan retellings for a deep dive of Peter Pan that I did before. And so yes, there were a lot of smutty retellings in there. There was a lot of smut. I did read The Never King, you know. I did read Hooked. I did read the one by Katie Robert, whatever that one was. Yeah, so there was a lot. And I'm not saying that this was like the best one, and I'm not saying that like on its own, like, man, this is just good romance. It's not. It's not. Let's all be honest with ourselves, okay? But it was enough of a good time that I enjoyed it. I liked the way that she used Peter Pan Easter eggs as a like personal, self-identified authority on Peter Pan and Peter Pan enthusiast. I enjoyed her use of Easter eggs. I thought that it was cute. So yeah, I grabbed the special edition. I put other books back to get it. So what? For the record, I don't like any other book by Emily McIntyre. I've read not all of them anymore. I quit trying. I read like 3 others, hated them all. And I read all of the Katie Roberts Twisted Villains retellings. Not for me. Yeah, I think it's technically like a mafia plot style. It's just about like Hook and getting revenge on an old business partner, Peter, who spends most of the plot, honestly, like not even in the book. And Peter's daughter, Wendy, is like 18. And so I think he like nabs her or something to prove a point. And that's the bulk of it, you know? So like I said, a pretty standard mafia romance plot structure. It is not quality literature, but it's enough of a good time, especially if you like Peter Pan. And so this special edition, I liked it. I do have my qualms with it. Like, girl, you don't need your USA bestselling author, like USA Today bestselling author, in foil on your foil edition. Like the fact that you have a screen printed, sprayed edge, foiled hardcover edition, like you've made it. Like you're there. We know that you're a big name. That just felt like a little much. Some words on the back that are corny. I like the clock, and then it says darling down the side. Is it absurd? Yes. Did I want it? Yes. Is my entire relationship with the entire romance genre just full of contradictions? Yes. Yes, it is. But I am a woman and contain multitudes. So thank you for being with me during this book haul. This is going to be an absolute nightmare to edit. I'm going to go start some of my books now. I'm back real quick. I remembered that I told you that I would show you my TBR jar, or my equivalent of it. And so I'm kind of excited to show you what I do for my TBR. I have lots of things that keep me reading. I make a TBR list like every month or so and put them on my TBR cart. Even if I don't pull from them, I like to have like a sort of handy selection. I also have a TBR game, BEEJ's Bookopoly, which is shamelessly ripped from Becca with the Books, just with like a lot more rules and very specific prompts. And one of the prompts on the board is my gumball machine. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So this is, as you can see, a gumball machine. Our office was renovated about 6 months ago, and this was just going to go to property control, which is a thing that Disney does with Disney props or furniture pieces that they put at a highly discounted rate for cast members to get. And so I made it loudly known that I was very interested in the candy machine, and they were like, but it's broken, and it was. And so I was like, I can fix it, and I did, and I brought it home and I fixed it and I painted it. I painted it to match It's a Small World. And so in here are, inside these little pill capsules, each one of these is a book title, and it's all a book that I want on that is on my TBR shelf. And so that this is kind of where I have officially housed and captured my TBR. Yeah, each one of these is a book that I want to read. So as you can see, I have the world's longest TBR, and I have a lot of work to do. Hello, it is Monday, and this is my vlog update. So this morning, I finished Free Water. This is by Amina Luqman-Dawson, and it is about a little boy who is 11 or 12, and he escapes the plantation upon which he is enslaved, and he finds a community of people living in the swamp. And so it is about him like learning about this place that they call Free Water and the community that they've built there, and the way that everyone works together and plays to their strengths to create an environment that is safe, sustaining, and secure for them. And then he devises a plan on how to go back to the plantation and collect his mom, who was left behind. It was naturally a very difficult read. It is a middle grade, so it is written in the tone and plot structure of a middle grade. And also it has the pace of a middle grade, which is good and to its favor. But of course the subject matter is heavy. The reading experience is not super heavy. The reading experience is incredibly adventurous and hopeful. And it was so good. And it was so good to have the message that for as long as there has been oppression, there has always been liberation, and there aren't nearly enough stories. It's really awesome to hear and read stories that have the profound impact that for as long as there has been oppression of peoples, there has been a resistance. And that resistance is always inspiring. I think that message is incredibly important. I think that message is incredibly important and relevant and timely right now in 2025. And I loved reading the author's note at the end of the book talking about how she first got inspired to write about what is currently referred to as the maroon communities and the marooners of formerly enslaved people who would find community and build community in the uninhabitable swamps. Specifically, it's called like the Great Something Swamp, like between North Carolina and Virginia, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Louisiana. The Great Dismal Swamp is the name of that area. The author's note talks about historians and archaeologists who have talked about how individuals and communities were able to live and thrive this way for decades, and not just individually, but also in communities. And that is something that is so profoundly inspiring and profoundly cool. Yeah, this book was good. At its core, this is a book, though, it's a coming of age story about this little boy who learns to be brave and what that process looks like. It's not always a single moment. I think it was so brilliantly done how Luqman-Dawson wrote about these children characters, and they all had such unique personalities, unique drives, but also she shows the difference between children who are in free water because they escaped a plantation and all the other children who have grown up in free water as free children. And their bravery is born from ignorance. And it's a neat type of bravery, and it's not one to be dismissed, but it's completely lacking the trauma behind what it takes for these other kids to be brave, and that their real fear and their learned fear and their learned protectedness is born out of like just a trauma-based need, and how deeply sad, profoundly sad that is. The way that comes to light in this story was definitely one of my favorite parts. It was such a good book. It was such a good story, and had such a good ending. The end of her author's note says, "This history is a reminder that wherever African enslavement existed in the Americas, a culture and even communities of extraordinary resistance was always present." My favorite moment was at the end of the book. One of the adult characters is kind of closing things out, and his final note is, "Plantations beware, we have some young people ready to set us all free." I think that as a message, and that as the tone of the book, is not only refreshing, but it is a big part of the story that has intentionally been erased, that I'm glad is starting to get more notice. That resistance has always been there, resistance is here now, and that it takes the ignorant brave and the learned bravery of children to teach other people how to be brave. And I think that that's a very cool message, and a needed one. I am a huge fan, and so 5 out of 5 stars. It is a perfect book. I'm still going to keep reading, but that does mean that I go ahead and write on my deed here. This is my deed for my Bookopoly board. I'll show you my Bookopoly board in a second. My quality art over here, but this is my, Park Place or Boardwalk. I'm not sure which one comes first. And so on the back of this card, I would just write the date on the left column and the title of the book on the right column. And once I have read all 10, then I own the property. So that's my book check-in for Monday. What I'm going to read next is probably continue with After the Forest and go a little bit further on Which is Steeped in Gold and keep going, because I would really love to finish those out, by the end of this vlog. But first, I will show you my BJ's Bookopoly board. Yeah, this is BJ's Bookopoly. This is my Lizzie McGuire character. This is my token for all of my rolls, but of course, if I roll doubles, then I use the Spooky Bitch Juice, and I have to do the second prompt in addition to wherever Lizzie is. I have to do the second prompt. And then if I roll 3 doubles, then I get sent to jail. And this is my talking shit in the group chat pin, and so she goes to jail. If I have a get out of jail free card, though, she gets put on a third prompt around the board. I tried to match the vibe of original Monopoly, having sort of lower stakes, and then the stakes get a little bit higher, or the prompts get more specific around this edge of the board. So I have like anticipated low rating or shortest book. So this can be probably like a KU book, like easy, low stakes, low commitment, and low commitment. Some of the community chess pieces or plate spaces around the board, those are my gumballs, and I showed you that yesterday. TBR Vet, of course, naturally the book that has been on my TBR the longest. Railroads are different types of mythology, so I have Greek and Nordic mythology, Asian mythology, African mythology, and Latin American and indigenous mythology. These are a bit more studious, so I have literary, nonfiction, and history. I have chance cards, which are pretty basic, honestly, pretty basic prompts in here. Read a heavy book, read a green book, a blue book. Not very complicated. So book jail is actually pretty hard. I can't get out of book jail until I read a 5-star book or until I sell a book on Pango or list a book on Pango. The third way to get out of book jail is so there's a 5-star list on Pango or read an entire series. We have historical, reading a sequel, contemporary, and fantasy. So these are just like kind of wide genres that could be any type of book. Here we have themes or topics, pirates, mermaids, and fairies. My free parking is basically Kindle Unlimited because low stakes. A little bit more specific here with not just sort of the horror or thriller genre, but within that, is the book spooky? Is the book specifically gothic in aesthetic? Or does it have suspense in it? Do I have a typo on my own Bookopoly board? That's embarrassing. Wow. I'm just now realizing this. You wouldn't know I'm a professional writer, folks. A little more specific here, you have a subgenre of cozy romance, YA, and middle grade. Coven choice here, these are like my utilities. So read a book that either features witches or a book chosen by my coven via social media poll. A book box book is my treasure chest. Disregard the like little green squares here. These are plot types, so we're getting really specific here. So the plot type has to be a revenge plot type, a spy plot type, or involve royalty of some kind. And then finally, my Boardwalk and Park Place are anticipated 5-star or the longest book on my shelf by page count. And so Lizzie is right here. I'm going to fill out the deed with free water. Gonna put it on the back, and then I'm gonna do another Bookopoly roll. Hi, it's Wednesday. And though you wouldn't know it to look at me now, or maybe any other time that you've seen me in this vlog so far, but I do get dressed, usually, when I'm not recovering from surgery. This has been a rough recovery, I'll be honest. So I am off most of the pain medications, which is great, but there's one that I absolutely have to keep taking, and it has some intense side effects, some bizarrely intense side effects. It makes you drowsy and gives you insomnia, which is a winning combo. But on top of that, it also gives me incredibly intense migraines, incredibly vivid nightmares, and really, really high anxiety, which having while my husband is across the world is not, like, none of it's fun, and it has not been super manageable. And after like 4 straight days of no sleep, I was really struggling, and yesterday I was struggling hard. While I was doing a get ready video, I was on Marco Polo with some of my besties, and I was raising up the white flag. I was like, okay, officially I need to call in reinforcements. I'm not doing well. I need sleep. I am terrified to take this medication again, but like, I don't want to be alone at night anymore. I can't do it. Bestie came over last night. My brother is coming over tonight, and it was tremendously helpful last night. I just have a few more days of kind of misery on this, and so I'm going to stay focused on this vlog because that's going to help me get through it. And I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing me sort of back on my bullshit in like a good way. You know what I mean? Because I am typically very high energy, very happy, very driven and focused and cha-cha-cha, and I am not feeling those things now, which is why all the coziness. That's my life update. On the agenda today, I want to do a reading sprint, obviously. I want to do this book check-in with you, tell you the books that I have finished, and also build my April TBR because I've officially made it through my March TBR. Let's start with the book check-in. Since we last spoke, I finished, well, to a point, After the Forest by Kel Woods. First of all, DNFing is very new to me. I'm gonna not bury the lead here, I DNF'd it, okay? But I also want to back up because I will like trudge through a book. I really will, because I'm a completionist and I'm curious and everything. So I'm trying really hard because my TBR is so massive. I mean, you saw the gumball machine. I'm really trying to not force myself to read things that I'm not enjoying and to really pay attention to the reading experience, and that the reading experience is like just as important as the book. But I'm getting better at DNFing books when the reading experience is just not fun for me. And this one was so hard for me to DNF because it had all of the elements that I really liked, and I don't think that there's anything bad about it. Like, I don't think that just because I DNF'd it or didn't want to continue with it, that that's a criticism against the book itself. I was absolutely in love with the premise, and I still am. It says that it's a Hansel and Gretel retelling, kind of. I mean, it's not a retelling. It's just about Hansel and Gretel, but 20 years after the incident. And it is, but it also doesn't tell you that the whole book itself, while it follows Greta from the fairy tale, there are actually lots of different fairy tales and Easter eggs of fairy tales in and out of this. All of this I'm obsessed with. Like I wanted to love this book so badly because the elements are there, and it's got like a really neat spooky vibe that I didn't anticipate. I thought it was like a spring green foresty type of fairy tale. It is a dark, spooky, autumnal, foggy woods kind of retelling. Like, and this is me, I'm talking up the book because I think it's really cool. I just did not enjoy reading it. But the thing that I would say is a bit of a criticism, or at least one that I don't think is like, this was just my hang up, is that Greta she didn't have a lot of agency. She was just kind of a viewer in her own life, and she just kind of kept going along and around with whatever anybody else said. And I know that it was kind of historical in nature. There's a lot going on that is very historical and puts you in a time and place in history, in real people history, and they're referring to real things that have happened and with real dates and historical significance. So I found that a bit distracting on one hand, and also very cool and grounding on the other, just depending on how it worked out. If we're gonna lean into the historical nature aspect of the witchcraft threats, and like the threats of burning women at the stake, and the 30 Years War, and all of this tension between fiefs, going on, then I would have wanted to see more of a departure from how you would expect a woman to behave, which, like, Greta was behaving very appropriately historically. She had no agency. She is at the whims and mercy of every man around her, yada, yada, yada. But if those men are also fairy tale characters, then I don't want to see that. I don't know if that articulation really makes sense on your end, but like, I didn't want to read a historical novel. I just did. Literally about the same time and place. I just read Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen. That's what I just felt like I was reading that story again, So I didn't want to read a historical fiction. I wanted to read a fairy tale. And if you're going to have fairy tale men, why can we not have then fairy tale women who are badasses, That was a weird inflection, but like badasses, I wanted to watch Greta really punch a few men in the face, and I really wanted to see her stand up for herself a few more times and not just sort of like, I guess I'm being sold into wedlock now. I thought it was really neat. Like, the premise was really cool. And I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people are really going to like it. I think a lot of people who have more patience than I do are going to like it, and who really can get down with a slower book, and who really like the grounded and realism aspect of that. I think are really going to enjoy it. That is the book update. Now I'm going to build my April TBR, so come with me while I do that. But before I move the camera and am off camera and I'm just like the voice of God talking to you while you like view my shelves, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my thought process of my TBRs. So have I been saying this whole time that I'm building my April TBR, knowing full and damn well that this is the end of April? Hold please while I just come to grips with reality and how much time I have actually lost over the past 3 weeks. As I build my May TBR, I am going to be looking and probably picking something from every shelf or every other shelf, because each shelf has a vibe to it. So I'll pull one example from each type of shelf and then kind of go from there. But the first thing that I'm going to do is do my new Bookopoly roll, because I finally finished my 5-star read. So let's do that first. Okay, so last we checked in, my Lizzie McGuire character token was over here on the most valuable space on the board, which is the anticipated 5-star. And it ended up being Free Water, the middle grade. So the new roll is literary. So as I build my May TBR, I'm going to have to choose something that is literary. I think we can do that. So here is my office from a different angle. We're going to be looking at these books up here, these books over here. That's my literary fiction over here. And all that, like everything over here is fantasy, and then you get into like horror and thriller down here. And right up here, this is going to be my monthly TBR. These are sequels of series that I am currently in the middle of, so they kind of stay perpetually here on this cart. Let's approach the literary shelf. This is the most low-tech operation. Okay, let's pick our first literary book for our May TBR. I'm looking at Once Upon a Tome, The Misadventures of a Rare Bookseller. And so it's been so long since I've gotten this one that I can't tell if it is fiction or nonfiction, or if it's like a fiction that's meant to look like a nonfiction. You know, I'm also really gullible, and so in this capacity. And so I kind of think that maybe I am being fooled like I was at the beginning of The Princess Bride. That's kind of the vibes that I'm getting of this one. So let's put this one aside as let's consider it. This is Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel. So this is Alison Bechdel of the Bechdel test. And I have read Fun Home probably 6 or 7 times. It is one of my favorite books ever. So I've been looking forward to reading the sequel for a really long time. I don't think that it's a sequel insofar as it carries the same story, because Fun Home, which is the first book, I should probably tell you what it is. It's a graphic novel, and it's a graphic novel memoir about Alison Bechdel. And it's about her life growing up, specifically and particularly her relationship with her father. It's a lot told through flashback, and it's about her sort of coming to terms with her sexual identity and then looking back on her life. So this one, Are You My Mother, I'm assuming is about her relationship with her mom. So I'm interested in this one for sure. Yeah, I think we're good then for literary. We've got a graphic novel memoir and either a literary fiction or possibly just a fiction. But we've got two good picks right now, and I'm good with that. For this one, there's kind of no way to do it with me in the shot. So these are my middle grades. Graphic novels, contemporary YA, romance. My Peter Pan retellings over here with Shadow Peter, and my dark romance over here. Okay, let's pick a really great middle grade for late spring, early summer. I've been enchanted either by A Game of Fox and Squirrels, and by enchanted I mean intrigued. It sounds pretty interesting, but so does Shady Hollow. So I think I'm gonna grab both of those because the forest vibes, but they also I think have darker undertones. Like this is like a mystery, a class. It got mixed reviews, so I'm intrigued by that. And then that one I think is actually about abuse, because a lot of middle grades are very heavy. So let's grab those. I already have a YA on the shelf, and that is the second of the Babysitter's Coven. So I'm going to try and read that one in the coming month for sure. Let's see. In romance, I just finished Fan Service by Rosie Danan, and I laughed the entire time. I'm such a Rosie Danan fan, and it was so great. I'm thinking either Happy Medium by Sarah Adler, which is part of the book haul that I just grabbed, or this one called Role Playing, which I've been intrigued by. I don't know this author, but it's about a middle-aged woman. She's 48, and she starts role-playing and I think LARPing with some friends, and she calls herself the Bog Witch, I think, and it sounds pretty cute. So starting at the top here, at some point I will probably do a bookshelf tour, but that is not today. But up here, this first shelf is Pirates to Mermaids, and we've talked about that. And I usually do not read those at any time of the year except for summer. And then this row right here, this row, and this row are retellings of different kinds. So these two are fairy tale retellings for the most part, and up here we have folklore retellings or mythology retellings of different kinds. And then it goes down to like general fantasy, and then we have fantasy, to the best of my knowledge, that is set in our world. And that's like all the way across here. So starting back up at the top, I do want another fairy tale retelling because I feel like I was robbed a bit from After the Forest. I really wanted to like it. So I want to pick something, you know, that is actually a fairy tale or feels like one. Hello. Okay, here we are sometime later. My brother actually came over and spent some time with me tonight. And it was, this is Fable. Yes? Hi. I know. But I'm losing the light, Fable, and I've got to finish my TBR. I know. Yes? Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry, that wasn't enough. And this is where I come to work, the Disney Creative Studio. Here we are on Thursday. Yesterday, about this time, my brother came over, and so you might have heard the doorbell right at the end of the last video. So I came in last night and I actually finished my May TBR. And this is the final edit. Naturally, I haven't actually counted this up. There's like 17, and then there's another one in another room. It's 18 books. That is far too many for a month. So we're going to see how it plays out. I always like seeing after the fact what all of these books have in common. Maybe they don't have anything in common, but usually there's a central theme, and I'm just unaware of it until after I start reading some of the books. So I'm so excited to dive into some of these. I'm actually about to go have a reading sprint out in the garden right now. I came home from work about a little early so I could enjoy this afternoon because it is May 1st, and that's a pretty important day in my world. So I'm going to enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the garden and enjoy my trees with one of these new exciting books. Hello and welcome to Neverwood Garden. There are a few hours of really fantastic sunlight before evening and before the mosquitoes come out and try and kill me. And so I'm going to do a little reading sprint. The two books that I grabbed to start today are Shady Hollow. This is by Juno Black. This is a murder mystery. I have it and had it, you saw it, stored on my middle grade shelf. I don't think that this is middle grade. I think that this is actually, it has mixed reviews, but it is shelved at Barnes & Noble in the mysteries and thrillers section. It has been described as both whimsical and sinister, which is a winning combo in my book. I am very intrigued by the tone of this book and how very at odds the cozy nature appears with how perhaps dark it is. I hope that it is going to deliver on the vibes that I'm like looking for specifically, but I also know that this book has really mixed reviews. And then the second is the graphic novel by Alison Bechdel, Are You My Mother? I'm gonna get started here and do a little reading.
So it is Friday, hooray, and officially the last day of this medication that has given me the most intense side effects and just made this recovery so much more difficult than it ever needed to be. Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not going to have brain fog anymore. And today, that brain fog and insomnia manifested in that I missed my nail appointment, which sucks. So, book update. I spent several hours in the garden yesterday and I had such a good time, and I read a little bit of Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel, and I read a little bit of Shady Hollow. I read like a quarter of Shady Hollow. So Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel, it's very self-aware. So, because it's a memoir, she talks about the process of her telling her mother about her writing her book about her dad, and weirdly how much more complicated it was writing this book for her mom, about her mom, really, not for her mom, and how difficult that is. And I remember I took a memoir class, writing class in college. I don't remember where this quote came from. I just remember one of the first things that we learned was write as if your parents are dead. So this book kind of explores that as a concept, and it has a lot of literary parallels with Sylvia Plath and Virginia Woolf. And so there's a lot of allusions and illustrations back to Mrs. Dalloway and the lighthouse, and it's really interesting. I'm interested. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I'm going to keep going. But also, regardless of whether I like it or not, it is masterfully written. Bechdel is incredibly intelligent. Shady Hollow is also interesting. It's cozy, and it's a cozy murder mystery, and I like it. I'm enjoying it. It's very cute. And I'm wondering if I can't tell if there's going to be not a plot twist, but like a tone shift where something gets like weirdly dark and dramatic, or if in fact what you see is what you get, and the whole thing is just a cozy mystery series about like woodland creatures. And I can't tell which one I'm rooting for, because I have no complaints with it as like just woodland creatures, but for whatever reason I was expecting maybe something a little more, I'm gonna say adult, but that doesn't mean like suggestive. I just mean like something a little bit more intense than like The Wind in the Willows, but make it murder mystery, because like it's a cozy, and it's cute. So for what it is, I'm enjoying it. The characters are cute. The dialogue is really well written. So I am going to check back in with both of those books right now. Hello. It is Sunday, so it's been a couple of days. It's a beautiful day out here. So I'm sitting out on my back porch, and my camera, my phone, is sitting precariously on top of my water bottle. So that is why I am crooked. I am gonna have a reading sprint while I'm out here, obviously, because it's just perfect weather out here and I just want to be outside. And so I'm gonna do a reading sprint and check back in later when I've read more of Are You My Mother and Shady Hollow. This is my view right now from my back deck. Back there is the garden. I gotta stop like putting my hand like right in the camera. Yep, back that way is the garden. Hello! So today is Tuesday. As of last night, Brett is officially home from Paris. Yay! So I feel like my center of gravity has been restored and the world makes sense again. And so I'm going to close out this vlog talking about the last book that I read over the past few days, definitely over the weekend, and it's Shady Hollow by Juno Black. This is a cozy murder mystery about these woodland creatures in this forest village called Shady Hollow. Anyway, this follows Vera Vixen, and she is a fox and a reporter for the local newspaper, for the Herald, I think. And so she's just out here sleuthing it up when this grumpy old toad named Otto Sumpf is found floating near his swamp home with a knife in his back. So she and the really rusty police, he's like a police officer. He's not the chief, he's the deputy, I guess. And his name's Orville. The police chief is nowhere to be found. He's always on a fishing trip. And there's the
head of the local sawmill, Reginald von Beaverpelt, and he's been having an affair with Ruby, and she's like this sheep hussy from like sleeps her way all over town. Like, hey, no shame in your game. And there's her best friend Lenore, who works at a bookstore, and she's a raven. And there's just the moose, Joe the moose, and he owns the local coffee shop where everybody hangs out and gets their coffee. BW is the head of the paper, because everything's in black and white, and so he goes by BW. And so there's just this cast of really, really hilarious characters. This is so cozy. It's so cute. I really liked it. It's not necessarily middle grade, but because it's so cozy, I think that this is something I would have absolutely loved when I was younger. Like, this is exactly the type of book that I did read and loved reading and everything when I was in like late elementary and early middle school. But I'm so nervous to say that because then I'm going to be like, this is a juvenile book. It's not. It's not a juvenile book. It's just cozy, and that was my vibe back then 100%. Yeah, I have no problems with it. It was like it's a 4-star read. It's fine. It's great. And I would recommend it if you like murder mystery books, but especially if you like cozy murder mystery. It's awfully cute. So that is the last book that I have read for this vlog, and also the first book that I've read from my May TBR. So I'm looking forward to reading more. I think the book that I've got my eye on next is Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, because that's a horror. And now that Brett is home again, I am kind of itching to read a horror novel, but I'm way too shook in to do that when he's out of town. That has been this vlog. I have no idea what I'm going to title it. I have no idea how it's going to come together, but thanks for being here with me and giving me a sense of focus and a well-needed distraction during this rough 10-day period that Brett has been gone and I've been recovering from this surgery. And so yeah, thanks for taking this journey with me, and I'll see you in my next one. Whether it's a vlog or not, I'll see you in my next video.